Tlhaba bua gore no re batla go utlwa gore re mahapi o tla re tshwaretseng mme o tenga kwa matsatsing la gompieno re mahapi re go dumedisa re go amogela mo thulaganyong eno ya Youth Connect le mo Pillar FM gape ina ke gore ke re ke isa trailblazer this man. It's a trailblazer. Mr. Mahapi, happy Monday, happy brand new week, and once again thank you for being here with us.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate. I'm happy to be here as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Re gona le tshwana gape dumedisa pele le moreetsi matsatsing la
Ke dumedisa bareetsi botlhe ba Pillar FM all across the region and beyond. Yeah, I'm here.
Yes,
so let's enjoy our time together.
Gompieno ke mantaga o re tshwaretseng matsatsing la gompieno.
Today I'm going to just close on the law of repetition.
Yes.
And I'll probably go into the law of consistency.
Oh yeah, consistency.
Yeah,
nice.
I want to just touch on that a little bit because I believe it's going to tie in nicely with the law of the mind. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you can take it away, sir. Or that's what I'm the law of repetition.
Yeah, so I think just before I start, I just want to acknowledge our listeners.
Yes, sir.
I really appreciate, for the past 2 weeks, I've been noticing quite a lot of people posting the show and just making and creating an awareness around that. And I also would like to appreciate the fact that they actually go out of their way to just repost and just, advertise and just make everyone else aware that we are around here on Monday and we are we are available to talk to people.
Yes,
so
sir.
And also just to encourage batsadi, ha o le motsadi o na le bana ba le, of age, maybe they are teenagers. I would like to encourage you, sometimes sit with your children, dula le bona hatse around this time, encourage them to listen to the show because we are helping you do things that you might not have time to do.
True.
It's not every parent that has time to motivate their own children. So if you've got a show like this, sometimes, it allows the family to also bond. You sit with your children, you listen to motivation, maybe discuss it after to just hear what your children think. It's actually a very good platform. So I'd like to encourage the parents as well. Take your children, especially if they are at high school level. This will benefit them a lot because it will allow them to have the right kind of mindset even when they're going out of high school into tertiary. Some are already in tertiary. They need the right mindset for them to go into the working environment. Some are going out into business. Whatever the case might be. It's a good platform for people to actually grow mentally as well. Yeah, so I would like to encourage everyone, and I appreciate everyone that's already following us and actually making sure that they make us trend out there.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. So just to touch on what we spoke about last week, and I believe it's very critical because we were touching on the law of repetition, which is a sub-law that falls under the law of the mind. And we had mentioned the importance of repeating certain things. That if you repeat things for a certain period of time, even though sometimes you might not necessarily see the change that is happening in your mind, but by talking and speaking and saying the same thing over and over again allows you the opportunity to be able to change certain thinking patterns. And it might not necessarily be an overnight solution. And I really need to emphasize this to the listeners, that it's not an overnight thing. It has everything to do with developing a habit of doing something up to a point where more than half the time you will realize that when that change happens, you've most probably even forgotten that you are trying to change your thoughts whether a particular thing is concerned, whether it's changing your thoughts about thinking negatively about yourself or changing your thoughts around having certain fears that you don't want to have. When you begin to continue speaking to yourself and repeating that to yourself and your mind begins to, believe what you are saying, it's going to actually carry a lot more weight in terms of changing those patterns. And one thing that I've also noticed is that, people can talk to you and motivate you and encourage you. But it creates a much more, a better platform for you as a person when you actually know that your brain is actually more receptive of your voice than it is to anyone else's voice. So your voice actually has a lot more weight in terms of what it says to your brain. So even if people can say to you, you can win, the chances are you'll find it hard to win until you begin to actually say it yourself. And that is why you will see, when you go to a psychologist and they want to convince you that you are capable of doing certain things, they will tell you, say this. They will say it to you up to a point, and then they will say it.
Say it again.
Say it. Because when you say it, it actually carries a lot more weight than when another person says it. So that's what makes the law of repetition so powerful, because you are not necessarily, you know, some people can say law of repetition. I will play a certain video clip that motivates me in a certain way. That's also good. But you must also realize that even if you listen to that radio clip all the time, what will work quicker for you is if you actually say it to yourself. So that your brain hears your own voice saying it. This is actually a very powerful tool that even, you know, in the Christian circles, and I will quote a very simple principle where the Bible says faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. Now, look at it this way. Yes, you can hear a person preach, and they tell you what God can do, how powerful God is. But you realize that you develop stronger faith when you are at home alone, reading that same Bible, and you are reading it out loud, and your brain is hearing your voice saying these things. And as you are saying it to yourself, it develops faith quicker in your life than the faith that you develop by hearing other people tell you how good God is. But when you tell yourself, you will begin to realize that you develop much quicker than when you are listening to people. And that's what the law of repetition actually means, is that you say these things to yourself. Yes, you can listen to audios of motivation and have headsets and hear the same thing over and over again. That will help. But the process goes quicker if you say those things to yourself. And this becomes very important, because when you do that, you allow yourself the opportunity to speed up the process of the transformation in terms of thinking patterns. Now, I want to go quickly into the law of consistency.
Yes, sir.
If you look at the law of consistency for me is a law that I would like to interpret. You know, people say when you are consistent, and I will show you how powerful consistency is. When you are consistent as a person, people worry less about your ability in doing what you say you can do. Sometimes to a point where they forget that you are even there, because they expect. In fact, when you are so consistent, when something that you always do doesn't happen, people get shocked. It's like it's a surprise. To say how is it that this thing did not happen? Because you are so consistent that people tend to actually think it's actually normal for that to happen. It's like you are so consistent that people assume that it's normal. Even your boss at work, when they know you are always there at 7, you are always there at 7. Without fail, they know. Some people will even judge how late they are at work by seeing you on the road to say, if I see so and so, I'm still early for work. They don't even have to look at time, because you are so consistent that to them you become a standard of a particular thing. And consistent people are very critical in our day and age, because they actually set the bar for a lot of people. They set the standard of how certain things need to happen. Now, look, when you are consistent, even in your family, they know you are consistent. They don't even have to panic and call you during the month to say, because they know you are so consistent. They even plan around the money you are going to give them before you even give it to them. Because they know how consistent. And if you don't send the money, they get shocked at how. What has gone wrong? Because you are so consistent that they can even plan around your actions because of how consistent you are. So consistency, in my interpretation of consistency, I call consistency a type of energy that you create around yourself.
Powerful.
So when you want to create a type of energy around yourself, you create it by being consistent. Now, what I like about energy, like I've been mentioning in the past few weeks, energy attracts. And what energy attracts what is similar to itself. If it's negative energy that you are generating, you know there are people that are consistent in generating negative energy. You know without fail, this person knows how to talk negative. Without fail, this person knows how to tell jokes. Without fail, this person knows how to make people laugh, how to make people cry. Without fail, we know this person is consistent in doing what they are doing. So whatever energy that they generate around themselves is the type of energy that they will also attract. Wow. So with the law of consistency, the only danger with that law is that you need to make sure that whatever you are consistent in is something that actually generates positive energy around you. Because when you generate positive energy with your consistency, you are going to attract positive things around yourself. This is very important. And that is why you will hear a lot of people when they talk about the law of attraction. They say, you know, you attract what is the same as you. Yeah. People tend to gravitate towards each other when they are similar. when we share the same likes and we share the same type of things, we sort of gravitate towards each other. You know, it's those type of things you look at and you realize that even when people are sitting in a, say for an example, they are attending a course that's going to take a week, you will see people begin as strangers on the first day. Somewhere around lunchtime, you will see some people would have already spotted people that sort of have the same type of thinking as them. And when lunchtime happens, you will see they sort of gravitate towards each other. By the end of that week in that course, some of them have even made friendships simply because of the energy they carry around themselves and who it attracts. It will always attract the type of people that have the same type of energy that you have. I don't know if that makes any sense. Now, this is why then it becomes important for us to know that the type of energy we generate around ourselves attracts what we have created ourselves. Now, I want to just touch on something quickly. I mentioned the issue of mindset, and I said mindset is important. But the only way to create a very good and healthy mindset is by repetition. If you look at repetition in its, well, let's maybe say repetition in its original form, it's actually almost the same as what consistency represents. Because repetition means you are doing something over and over again. But consistency says you're going to continue doing that same thing over and over again, and you are not going to stop until you see a difference. In fact, consistency goes even further. It says you can repeat the same thing over and over again in your life to a point where it actually becomes a personality trait.
Wow. Okay.
And when you do that, that means you will consistently generate the right kind of energy around you. And then you will hear people say, no, unali lucky. You know, there's always good things that are always happening to this person because they are lucky. And to tell you the honest truth, it's not really about luck. It's about what this person consistently continues to do in their lives. And that attracts what they actually do. And if it's positive things that you say to yourself, and you develop that mindset, and you continue doing that, you are going to attract positive things.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense. Now, let me explain. A friend of mine from Klerksdorp, I looked through the WhatsApp and I saw they had posted Aliko Dangote, the richest man in Africa.
Yeah.
So they talked to him about business. So he says, how he started, his main aim was to make his first million. And then they are saying all these things. And then they said to him, so he says, no, ultimately I was in the range of billions.
Yo.
And it didn't, I didn't really comprehend what it meant for people to call me a billionaire. So he says, I went to the bank.
Okay.
I went to the bank and I withdrew 100. He withdrew $100 million. No. He actually withdrew $10 million. Sorry, $10 million. Yeah.
Wow.
He withdrew $10 million. And he says, I put it in a bag and I put it in the boot in my car.
Yo.
And then I went home. He says, when I got home, I unzipped the bag and I looked through it and I saw and I said, okay, so I do have money.
Wow.
Because he was looking at this $10 million and he was thinking to himself, now, so when people say I have money, I actually do have money. Wow. And he woke up the next day and took it back to the bank.
Just like that.
But the reason behind why he did that was to actually have an awakening in his mind. Because he didn't quite grasp the thought of being called a billionaire, to say you have so much money that you are the richest person in Africa. So he had to actually go and feel how it feels like to be the richest. So what I'm trying to actually say is that sometimes, and it goes back to another law that I call the law of focus. To say sometimes when you are a person and you are so focused, the good thing about focus many a times is that it allows you to focus on what you need to deliver and forget about the excitement of the delivery.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the excitement of the delivery, when you are too excited, you lose focus and you forget that I've achieved. Instead of you continuing to say, now I can repeat the process of achieving, you forget. And people say reward yourself for every good thing that you do. Yes, it's good to reward yourself. But sometimes we reward ourselves beyond what we need to do, and we end up losing focus of what we need to do. So when he did that, it came back to me, and I said to myself, and they asked him now a question, and they said to him, this is now the favorite part for me. And they said to him, okay, so now how much money do you have in your wallet right now? He says, wallet? So he says, I don't even have a wallet.
Wow.
I don't even have $1 in my pocket.
Yo. Okay.
Like, he doesn't have a wallet, he doesn't have a dollar in his pocket. He literally has he has no cent. He has all these billions
In the account.
but he has no cent with him.
In him.
Now, you realize what that mentality means. What that mentality means is that, yes, I am successful. I'm doing good. But that does not have to change the kind of person I am. I don't have to be walking around looking rich.
Yes, sir.
I don't have to be walking around looking like I have made it in life.
Powerful.
Because my success, remember what I said in the beginning, your success is personal. So you can enjoy your success personal, alone, and be happy with the fact that you are successful. You know, there are people who are, a lot of South Africans didn't know about Robert Gumede,
Yeah.
who is one of the billionaires, and he's been quite popular for a very long time.
True.
But they only knew that he exists after his son gave a speech in AKA's memorial. They then started digging, and they realized, oh, he's a son to Robert Gumede. Who's Robert Gumede? Robert Gumede was one of them. You understand what I'm saying? That people who are focused and they understand why they are doing what they are doing, they don't make noise about what they are doing. Because focus does not allow you to do that. It does not allow you to do that. Focus says, keep doing what you are doing and focus on doing it and don't stop. Because if you continue consistently doing the same thing over and over again, you are going to continue getting results every single time you do it. Now, if we develop an attitude that says, I need to be consistent. Yes, I will do well. I'll be excited about certain things, but I need to remain focused. I need to remain focused. And if I continue being focused, I'm going to continue delivering on the results all the time. Now, what is also good about focus is that focus allows people not to be busy with too many things.
Okay.
Now, say for an example, you are in business.
Yes, sir.
One of the biggest traps, especially for talented and gifted people, is that they say talented people get bored easily. Now, that is the biggest trap of all traps. And if a talented person is going to believe that, they are going to have trouble. Because they are always going to fall into the trap of jumping into from one thing to another. And you will find a talented person starts a business. After 5 months, they leave it. They start another one. After 6 months, they leave it. They start. Because they are so creative, they always have these creative juices flowing. And they are jumping from one thing to another. They lack focus more than half the time. That is why you will find that many a times, especially talented people are not always doing better than other people.
Okay.
Because having talent and having skill does not necessarily mean you are going to do best. One of the biggest challenges for a talented person is to make sure you keep focused.
Wow.
And you consistently do the same thing that you are doing over and over again. Okay, so other people will say, no, but we've got talented people who are billionaires today. Oh, well, judging from what I have studied and what I understand about, in fact, some of the richest people in the world, most of them didn't actually even make that wealth themselves. They actually took someone who was smarter than them.
Wow.
Bill Gates did that. He went into computers with a friend of his who was smarter than him, and they started a business. And you will find several cases. Steve Jobs did exactly the same thing. There's several people that did that, and Warren Buffett did exactly the same thing as well. So there are people that would, one of the things that makes them as powerful as they are is because they had the ability to spot the type of talent they needed for them to do what they need to do. Now, what I'm trying to get to is to say that when you are talented as a person, one of the most powerful things you need to actually focus on is to make sure that your focus in life is in check.
Wow.
Now, when you lose focus as a person, and this is one of the most difficult things, is that when you lose focus, you also lose value. You also lose value. How many soccer players do you know that were excellent in what they were doing? They lost focus because of other things, maybe substance abuse, maybe, having too much fun in life and forgetting that you still have a career. And they lost value to a point where no team wanted them. They were so talented, but because they lost value, talent can also lose value. You find a student who's in school, who's doing very well, intelligent. I was even telling, someone I was driving with when I came here, I said, there was this one guy that I went to school with. This guy was so intelligent. He knew how to program. You remember back in the day, you used to have those phones where you put a card. You buy the card. They don't actually load money. You buy that card. It comes loaded with money. You put in that guy knew how to program that card to have money in it. Without you going and getting another card. When he finished school, Telkom took him.
What?
They took him and they said, but now he had other habits that were a problem. Which later on he lost value and Telkom let go of him. A brain like that.
Massive.
That sometimes you need to realize that some people come packaged with gifts and talents. And some of them, their gifts and talents are already visible. and they can be seen by everyone else. The danger with that is that many a times we forget that we need to remain focused for us to harness this gift and make sure that it gives us the best value.
Yes,
now, what also happens when a person loses focus is that you also lose impact. You can be talented. You can be talented as much as you want. But when you lack focus in life, the level of impact that you can put or you can bring is sometimes tainted, and it's nullified simply because you have lost focus. So focus becomes important when you are consistent as a person to say, I'm going to be consistent, but I must make sure in my consistency, I'm going to focus on one thing. What focus actually allows you to do as well, focus makes sure that when you are talented, you get results. You will follow something up until its end. You don't leave stuff done halfway. If there's one thing you will find among successful people, if they will tell you anything about tasks or goals, they will tell you, never start something that you do not finish. If you start something, make sure you finish it. You go the whole 9 yards and make sure it's completed. If it has failed, it has failed, but you went the whole 9 yards.
Yes, sir.
And this is what is important, so that in your consistency, you make sure that even though I can consistently start new businesses, but I make sure that I don't leave them as white elephants. I make sure that those businesses are actually running and they are healthy before I jump out.
Yes.
I don't know if that makes any sense. And that is why you will see people like Elon Musk. He would start a business. He didn't really like the business. He started it because he had the means to do it at that time. Grow the business. The business is worth 9 million. And then before you know it, that person is selling that business for 50 million because they've grown it to that point. He doesn't want it, but he's using it as a means to an end. To say, I can use this business for me to get to bigger money, to start what I actually really like. So there are times where creative people will do certain things that they don't like. Yes, you don't like it. But the fact of the matter is that you are creative enough to start stuff. But be consistent and focused enough for you to follow through up until the end.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Up until the end. And you will find that there are several people, whether a person is a pastor, whether the person is an engineer, whether a person is a government official, a mayor, a premier, or a president. If a person does not learn to follow through and finish off everything that they do, more than half the time their impact is nullified. The impact becomes nullified. It does not matter how brilliant an idea is. If that idea never comes to life, that idea never existed.
Sure.
So it becomes important to say, even as a young person, you can sit there. I've already spoken about the law of the mind, and I said, sit down and daydream and think about how great you can be as a person. Have all these dreams and all these goals, but keep in mind that if you were to ever start anything, yes, maybe you are in high school right now. To show that you are great, what you need to do is to follow through on what you have started. Finish high school. If you go to university, when you get there, don't flunk out. Make sure you finish. Now, I'm going to show you a simple example that I believe is very critical. When people go to gym, you don't go to gym for a day and pick up weights, and when you have muscle spasms the next day, you say, no, this is too painful, I'm not going back. You need to go back and consistently go back until you develop your muscles to a point where it does not feel painful anymore.
I'm a victim of that.
So you get results when you do that. So you keep pushing until you can't be stopped anymore. Now, the other thing you need to focus on, and I always tell people, I will use the example of tertiary education to say, you qualify and you get a degree. Do you realize that when you are applying for a job, it's very rare that the people that are employing you care about the grades you got. They are just only interested in the fact that you got the degree you got. The grades are not really that important to them. Because there's one of two things that are very important. When an employer interviews you,
Yes, sir.
what they want is to check that you are able to be consistent. So your degree or your qualification proves to them that you have commitment, because you've gone to school for 3 years, every day going to class, doing the task and doing everything. So basically, for 3 years, you were able to complete tasks the way you were supposed to complete them, which is why you actually succeeded. That is the first. So you bringing a degree is not really about that paper. It's about the process that led you to getting to that degree. And to them, that's what it means. So when an employer looks at you as a person, they are not looking at you from the degree itself. They are looking at you from what you had to go through to get to that thing. And this is what is important, because it means you are able to carry out tasks. It means you are able to have a vision and actually see that vision through and make sure that that vision actually becomes a reality. So you went and said, I wanted to study engineering, and you went to school, you registered for engineering, you did the first class. After 6 months, you were still doing it. The year ended, you went to the next year, you went to the third year, and you finally finished. That in itself says the type of person that you, and it talks to consistency, to say you have the ability to do what you are given to do as a task. And this is very, very important, because what it says to you is that when you are being consistent as a person, there is a lot of other systems that are around that are there to actually evaluate the fact that you are actually consistent. You are able to be consistent. That is why you will hear some people say, I will never invest in people with money. They'll say, I'll never give you money. The first question I'm going to ask you is that, how many businesses have you started and how many of them did you fail? Because if you tell me I have failed 10 times, but you are still in business here looking for money, I am happy to give you my money.
Wow.
Because that means you are so consistent that even when you fail, you will say to yourself, I'll try again.
Yes.
You see, that commitment and that level of consistency is what then gains you traction to say this person is able to deliver even when it is difficult.
Yes.
So yeah, I can't touch any further
Yes,
beyond this point. But I'd like to say to you people, I believe that if you focus and give consistency to everything you do, you are going to achieve a lot in your life. But make sure, keep focused.
Nice one.
Thank you so much.
Wow, what a way to just, begin a week. And
they can follow us on Instagram, life_in_perspective 2019, or on Facebook, Life in Perspective. We've also started a TikTok account.
Nice one.
I didn't realize TikTok was this powerful. It's actually quite exciting. But they can follow us there to catch up on previous videos as well of some of the sessions we've had. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. All right, thank you.
Nice one.